Hello. I am actually recording this fairly late in the afternoon, mostly because I was riding this morning. It's such an amazing day. It was a shame not to go out on a really long turn about the countryside. The trees are all in bloom, you know, the cherry blossom, the apple blossom, the rhododendrons are out, very colourful, and they've colonised Britain, rhododendrons, and at least they have the advantage of looking pretty. And then all the other stuff like the primula and the daisies and the dandelions, some of them still hanging on, and little blue flowers and little pink flowers and little cream flowers. And there's a plant called ransom, which is actually a relative of the garlic family. And it's got these lovely little starburst white flowers that hide in the darkness of the hedgerows. And you're riding along and suddenly assailed by this really strong smell of garlic all round you. It's okay if you like the smell of garlic. I mean, yeah, I don't mind the smell of garlic. It's just somewhat unusual. And then there are other sweeter scents, of course. Well, yeah, how did I get onto that? Yes, I was talking about riding this morning in this brilliant warm sunshine. And but the thing is, usually I look at the newspaper at night time and decide the ideas, or rather I look at the stories and think of what I might be talking about the next day. So I just study them and then I sleep on it. This is usually what happens, not always. And then I sleep on it. So the next day I've got a lot that's already formed in my mind. I might make a few notes, but like now, I just come out with it. Anyway, so that was this morning. That delayed me. But yesterday, instead of looking at the papers, I spent most of the late afternoon and the evening watching the disturbed rendition of Sound of Silence. You see, having mentioned it, I thought, I haven't seen that performance for a while. I'll have to revisit it because I was quite blown away by it the first time I saw it. And every so often I go back and watch it again. It was the live performance he did on a talk show called Conan, of which I know nothing, by the way. Right, so I watched this performance of The Sound of Silence by Disturbed, and I watched it 2 or 3 times, or 5 or 6 times. Or, well, maybe 10 times. Oh, all right, 20 times. How much do I have to hide from you? It must have been about 20 times, some of which were not the actual performance, but reaction videos. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't believe that any of those reaction videos are actually first time. Oh, it's the first time I've watched this show. Oh my God. No, I don't believe that. I believe that these people knew that. How can you not know what The Sound of Silence is? How can you not know about the Disturbed version of it? It's just not possible. I don't believe any of them, especially the people who are internet savvy in the way that they're making reaction videos. But there is something about watching a reaction video anyway. Even if you think it's probably a fake, you are watching somebody who says they are enjoying the experience for the first time, and somehow that's very satisfying. It's a way, in many ways, a way of recapturing that first shock of listening to to that particular performance. And the whole thing, I mean, it's as operatic a performance as you'd find in La Scala, or anywhere else in any other opera house in the world, you know, the Grand Opera House in Vienna. It's the most operatic piece of pop I've ever heard. All right, well, I'm sorry, I've gone completely off the subject. So before I get on to talking about Suella Braverman and our Liberal Democrat leader, Ed Davey, I shall tell you that I am granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. I'm also on Twitter and Gab, where I let you know when I've uploaded a new video. It would be nice if you could contribute financially to this channel. There are all the links to all of these things are in the description. But the really important thing is to click the like button, really, and to subscribe. I don't know whether you've noticed, but my subscription numbers have been going down steadily, bit by bit, like something is sort of nibbling away at them. And seeing as my viewing figures are up, I can't believe that that's happening naturally. I think I'm being fiddled with again, like it happened to me before. And so, yeah, that's a bit depressing in itself. And maybe that's another reason I went to the Drayman version, because I feel like I'm being silenced again. Right, well, whatever. So where was I? Yes, links in the description to my other platforms, link to Twitter and Gab, link to financial contributions. Remember to click the like button and subscribe and share, or share and subscribe. I don't care which end comes first, as the Bishop said to the actress. Right, here we go with the politics latest news on the Telegraph. Tories rally to defend Braverman over speeding fine row witch hunt. Now, this is sort of interesting. In the news, what America calls the deep state is referred to here as the blob. And the blob refers to a whole lot of civil service secret activists, really. They've got their jobs and they push against the government. And we're seeing this here. Braverman is the one who's trying to swim against the tide and, well, literally stop the migrant boats. She's coming up with what I consider a pretty nutty scheme about Rwanda. No, don't send them to Rwanda when they're here. Stop them coming here in the first place. Just a minute, I'm going to cough. However, that's not what I'm talking about at the moment. She does appear to be trying to do something, and it looks like the blob is against her all the way. Now, it's not just the blob, of course. It's a few people in the cabinet, but there are some Conservatives who can see where this is going, and where it's going is losing them their seats come the next election. So they're quite angry with the way the top rank of the government, which is Jeremy Hunt and his puppet, Rishi Sunak, they're getting angry enough to start to mount some sort of a rebellion. And I think they should be a little more strident in their defence of Braverman. She's just the tip of the iceberg. She is the figurehead on the prow of the battleship, really, because she is the one they're getting at now, because they are trying to remove all the independent thinkers. So there's just Jeremy Hunt and his little glove puppet there. Jumping on the bandwagon, of course, is Angela Rayner, the deputy leader of the Labour Party, and she claimed Ms Braverman had serious questions to answer. For those of you who don't know, this is what happened. She got a speeding fine. The speeding fine, the punishment, or, well, you can't call it a punishment, the corrective measures to deal with a speeding offence. There's a fine, and then you have to attend a class on safe driving. So Braverman asked somebody in the civil service if she could go to these classes privately rather than attending a public class held by the local police or the whoever holds these things at the town hall or something. And I understand that very well. So I understand why she asked that, and I think it was probably sensible. But then the story was leaked out by the very civil service she asked, and now they're saying she was trying to get some sort of, well, I don't know what they're saying actually. They're saying it was a terrible thing she did, some sort of privilege or something. I think they might have said white privilege, but that's not something they could really apply here. But I don't know what, Hindus get as much trouble as white people now in this country. Anyway, Angela Rayner jumped on the bandwagon because, you know, get rid of Braverman, you're weakening the Conservative Party. And it says here, numerous Tory MPs came to Miss Braverman's defence. Sir Edward Lee told the Commons that all this moral outrage is ludicrous. And Jonathan Gullis said he believed voters were more interested in policies and delivery than the witch hunt from the party opposite. It's not just the party opposite, of course, because she's not getting the support from her own cabinet either. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was the Liberal Democrat leader, Sir Ed Davey. I don't know why he got the knighthood, but quite frankly, I don't think he deserves it. Sir Ed was asked his views as he took part in a radio phone-in. A caller called Mary asked him on LBC to explain what is a woman. Oh, that's a good question. If you remember, the leader of the Labour Party got caught with his knickers in a twist on that one, and she said she was a tactical voter, a group which could help the Lib Dems pick off Tory seats at the next general election. That Ed Davey didn't know whether she would be a tactical voter for or against trans issues. Sir Ed replied that the vast majority of people whose biological sex is a woman. Now, I have mentioned to you before that when people are trying not to say things and when they're confused about what sort of message they have to give, their grammar goes all over the place. And this is a fine example. Just look at this. The vast majority of people whose biological sex is a woman. So right now he's just slid straight off the rails. A woman is not the vast majority of people, if you see what I mean. When they were birth, and he's completely lost it now. And it says here, Sikh, which means, yeah, that's actually what he did say. They feel they're women. Well, that's big of you, Sir Ed. But there's this very small number of people who don't feel like that. You know, that whole sentence is a mishmash of poor grammar and dislocated thought that lets you know he doesn't really know what to say. Anyway, let's carry on. Presenter Nick Ferrari then twice asked, can a woman have, I'm not going to say this word because of YouTube, can a woman have a parasol? Eventually, the Lib Dem leader replied, well, quite clearly. Well, of course a woman can have a parasol. When it's sunny, you need a parasol. Okay. Lib Dem leader Ed Davey believes a woman can have a parasol. Well, of course, as I said, when it's sunny. He added, the truth is, Mary, truth. Truth's it. A politician, actually, truth? How is that possible? The truth is, Mary, the vast majority of people whose biological sex is a woman when they were birthed, they feel they're women. So they feel their gender the same as at birth. But there's this very small number of people who don't feel like that, and the law has recognised them for over 20 years now. So this is not a new issue. I beg to differ. It is a new issue now. It's a new issue because it's been made into something else. It's one thing if you are a man who would feel happier as a woman and wants to live as a woman and doesn't make any sort of waves, really, as a man in a woman's world. But there is a whole new bunch of people who are, in my opinion, mostly mentally disturbed. And they are determined misogynists in general, who dress in frocks and then beat women up. You don't find real trans women doing that. I know sometimes it seems it, but the law has dealt with this in the right way. The Equality Act is there to, pause for thought, because he doesn't really know where he's going with this one. The Equality Act is there to, to allow there to be single-sex spaces so people can have those single-sex spaces according to the law under the Equality Act. This is what is known to logicians as a circular argument. And what I want to do is answer your question directly, as I've done, Mary. But also to try and take some of the heat out of the question, because there's a small number of people who have they have a tough time. They're harassed, discriminated against, real serious mental health problems, and I think we need to manage this and think about it and debate it with a bit more maturity and a bit more compassion. Right, well, that clears it all up, doesn't it? Okay, so what have I dealt with here? I have dealt with the sound of people being silenced, the artificial fuss about Suella Braverman, and I finished up with Sir Ed Davey mansplaining to Mary about what a trans woman is and how she should be, well, possibly better behaved to them. Right, I think that's all right for today, considering that I got such a late start and considering that I'm still full of, well, pollen and the joys of, well, spring, I suppose it still is, which still has me wishing I was back on my horse. Oh, by the way, one of my subscribers told me that since I'm always talking about my horse, it has encouraged her to get started or restarted on her riding, which she had been putting off for a long time. And suddenly I'd awakened this wish in her to get back to it. Remember, folks, seize the moment. When I was suddenly struck by a real longing to get back to riding. I hadn't ridden for years because, I'd gone to boarding school. I was a teenager when I stopped riding. I went to boarding school. Well, there was no riding there. Then I went to university, and then I got married and I had children, and the life just got in the way. And then I suddenly, in middle age, got this thing that I had to get back to riding, and I thought, it's dangerous. Riding is dangerous. Absolutely no doubt about it. It's a dangerous sport. Even the most sedate, it has its dangers. Okay, it's expensive, and there's a joke in the horse world. It goes like this: my one terror is that I'll die and my husband will sell my horses for what I told him I paid for them. Right, it's expensive, and it's not just the horses. There are all sorts of peripherals, including the kit. So, you know, I knew all of that when I was sitting there thinking, I've got to get back to riding. And there were so many reasons not to. And then I thought, I don't want to be a little old lady curled up in some bath chair in a nursing home and thinking to myself, I wish I'd taken that chance. And in my experience, the things I have regretted most in my life are the things that I didn't do, not the idiot things that I did, some of which were very idiot, I have to tell you. Maybe making YouTube videos is one of them. All right, well, this has probably been rather longer. You see, because I didn't make notes, so I rambled a bit. I hope you're bearing with me. Okay, well, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share, share, share.